The days that followed were quiet. Randy hardly talked to me at school, and our academic rivalry died out after we failed a couple tests. Every time I saw him in class, he'd just stare at the wall, completely dejected. I wanted to ask him about how Keith was doing, but after hearing that conversation with his father, I figured it was a sore subject. So we just went back to being strangers again, occasionally smiling at each other in the halls, but nothing more. Home life wasn't much different. On the days I wasn't watching Nina, I was home alone. My dad had recently gotten a promotion and now didn't get home till 9 p.m. Upon his arrival, he'd usually go straight to bed. However, this time, he sat next to me on the couch. "What you doing?" he asked me while I was clearly doing math homework. "Math," I responded shortly. He reeked of alcohol and had obviously made a quick pit stop before coming home. He shifted on the couch to face me. "You know I love you, right?" I was shocked by the sudden change in topics and looked up to face him. His eye bags hung low and his face was covered in stubble. "Yeah? Why?" "I'm just..." he sighed. "I don't see you a lot anymore, Lizzie. And I'm trying my best, but with work and stuff, I cut him off. "I know, Dad. I know you have to work. I'm not mad at you." He sighed again. "That's not what I meant. I mean, I just don't want you to hesitate about going to me for anything. I'm your dad. I haven't been doing the best job at that lately, but I'm trying." He spoke softly, as if every word was fragile. "I don't hesitate to tell you stuff. Really? When's the last time you talked about school or boy trouble?" I let out a faint laugh. There's just not much going on at school or in the boy trouble department. "Really? Then who's Randy?" I visibly gulped and turned away, trying to hide the redness in my cheeks. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Casey already told me that you went on a date with some Randy the other day. So what's the deal with him?" "Casey needs to learn to shut her mouth." We both laughed. "And it wasn't a date. We were just hanging out." "Is that what they call it now? You know, when I was young, when a guy and a girl went to hang out, it was called a date." I couldn't hide my smile anymore. "Regardless, we don't really talk anymore." My smile faltered. "So I don't have to talk with this Randy kid?" "No, Dad." "Good. He probably wasn't good enough for you anyway." "I guess not." I returned to my homework. That's the end of Randy Haymitch. Haymitch? Like my boss, Jonathan Haymitch? That's the one. We have to get him back now. I could get a raise, he joked. I laughed. Wow, such a switch up. Only date a guy if it benefits my dad. He laughed back. Exactly. Plus, it would benefit him too. Any guy would be lucky to have you in their life. I smiled, the warmth in my cheeks returning. Damn right. I put my math homework back in my black book bag and continued. Can we please watch something? I'm getting bored of my homework. He checked the time, then looked at me. Sure, but something short. It's past my bedtime. How about this brand new movie that you've never heard of? Oh, really? What would that be? The Princess Bride? He chuckled to himself. Sure. As you wish. When I woke up on the couch the next day, my dad was gone. He must have already gone to work. I checked my watch and panicked when I realized it was 11:30 a.m., as I was supposed to watch Nina at 11:35 a.m. I quickly threw on some jeans and a hoodie and ran out the door. When I arrived at the Hopkins house, I was surprised to see Marie still there. Sure, when I first started babysitting, they would wait for me to get there before leaving. However, as years went on and I was never late, they began prioritizing leaving for work on time. I walked up to her, joining her on the porch. Hey Marie, where's Casey? Marie let out a long sigh. She already went to meet up with her client. I never questioned what they did for a living, but with them being one of the few not working at a fast food restaurant, gas station, ma and pa shop, or the straw mill, I can't say it never piqued my interest. She continued. You can stay if you want, but I'm gonna be home with Nina today. Sorry. Some creep was talking to her through the fence, and I want to be here in case that fucker comes back. Some creep? Yeah, the Georgia spotted some tall, black-haired dude crouched down and talking to my 6-year-old through the fence. And, in my experience, those people aren't usually just doing that to be friendly. Did you ask Nina about it? Yeah, but all she said is, it's a secret. I don't even want to think about what that could mean. She took a cigarette out. Can you toss me that lighter? Yeah. I went over to the other side of the porch and tossed her the lighter that was laying on the railing. I'll be right back, okay? She nodded her head and I left. Black-haired weirdo. I had a pretty damn good idea about who that was. I knocked on the Woods family door. It opened, and before that blonde robot could get a word in, I asked to see Jeff. He came outside and his mother left us alone. He was surprised to see me, beaming with a strange excitement. He smiled, brimming with confidence I had never seen before. If you wanted to talk to me, you could have just called. You motherfucker. What? He knew what I was talking about. Nina? That little girl you were talking to today? Oh, her. She was just so sweet. I couldn't help but talk to her. What did you talk to her about, you sick fuck? I saw him get angry at those last words, but he continued as if he wasn't. Calm down, Jane. I just saw you go over there a lot and decided to ask about you. She had nothing but good things to say, if that makes you feel better. See me go over there? Had he been watching me? I felt gross after hearing that. I just wanted to end the conversation as fast as possible. If you so much as even look at her again, I will fucking... He cut me off. Do what? Send Randy after me? He laughed. I'm so scared. He made his way to his door. Maybe try asking Randy why his brother's injured. Goodbye, Jane. I hope to see you soon. And just like that, he shut the door behind him, leaving me to wallow in the sickness I felt in the quiet. I started to avoid leaving the house more than I needed to. After my confrontation with Jeff, I always worried that he'd be following me, waiting for me to go somewhere private. I didn't know what he would do then, but that almost made it more frightening. School was out for Straw Fest, and I spent my time reading books, watching movies, and, when I really got bored, cleaning. Dad's whole plan of me winning back Randy wasn't working out, and, if anything, we had become more distant. So, imagine my shock when Randy's father showed up on my doorstep. I swallowed my shock and politely answered. Hey, Mr. Haymitch, shouldn't you be at the fair? He wore his too perfect white smile and replied, I should, but figured I'd visit you since I was in the neighborhood. Oh, I'm, honored, but what's the occasion? You don't seem like the type of man to just visit. His smile dropped almost instantaneously as he uttered, I know you were there that night, Jane. I froze. I know you heard the talk I had with my son. Saw you on the security footage the next day. I would have come by sooner, but work got in the way and you know how it is. I didn't know what to do, so I just stayed frozen as my heart started to beat faster. Noticing my fear, he continued, Don't worry, I'm not mad. I just want to show you something. He scratched his beard. Come on, I'm not gonna kill you. I hesitated, but felt like if I refused, things would have been worse for me. So I followed. He took me on a silent walk around the block, stopping at a park bench by the pond. He lifted the pond, pulled out some bird seeds from his jacket pocket, and began feeding the birds. When my granddaddy got here, he was flat broke, surviving purely off the kindness of others. But those others were broke too. The whole stinking town was. However, unlike the rest of the town, my granddaddy understood something. Ducks began pecking at the seeds beneath him. You see, Jane, there are only two things that matter in this world. Love and power. And with that, there are the lovers and the powerful. It's the powerful's job to build a world where the lovers can live. You can't be both. My granddaddy understood that. He also understood that to become the powerful, you had to take it. He wasn't going to drown like the rest of the town. He was going to build. He was going to prosper. He looked towards the straw mill in the distance and continued. That's why he built that straw mill right there. It took a lot of effort, and he did some immoral things to get it to where it is. But that's the job of the powerful, to do the dirty work so others don't have to. And look around. This community is prospering off my granddaddy's hard work, off my daddy's hard work, and now off my hard work. He gestured to a family eating french fries on another bench. They get to love as long as I stay powerful, as long as I provide. I may not always enjoy it, but it ain't my job to enjoy it. He ran out of birdseed, leaned back, and put his hands in his pockets. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be around forever, and when I die, my son Randy will inherit all of this. So, what happens if he decides to become a lover, to sit back? He may be happy, but the town will fall. My town will fall. You see, Jane, I have to be hard on him. I have to raise him to be strong. I have to raise him to be powerful. He finally turned to face my silent self. I like you, Jane. I really do. And I think deep down, you are the powerful. And that's the kind of woman I want for my son. You see, if I die before my son is ready, my wife is fully prepared to take power. And I want a woman like that for my son. So the question becomes, are you that woman? My voice got caught in my throat, but I felt like I had to answer him. I don't know. Sir, I mean, he hasn't really talked to me at all lately. He looked away again. That's fine. He'll come around. He always does. It was starting to get late, so he let me go home. I walked home in complete silence, thinking about all he had said to me. What Randy must hear every day. After about 2 hours of being home, I heard another knock on the door. Scared about who it might be this time, I looked through the window first, and to my shock, it was Randy? I immediately said upon opening the door. He was crying and cupping his hands, his blood-soaked hands. Can I come in? His voice was frail and full of mucus. I didn't say anything and let him in. What happened? I'm sorry, was all he could say as he rested his tear-soaked head on my shoulder. He began to hug me tightly, the blood getting on my hoodie. I hated that hoodie anyway, so I didn't mind too much. He kept telling me he was sorry. For what? I didn't know. I simply took him over to the sink and helped him wash off the blood. It wasn't until then that I realized the blood wasn't his. I watched as the red, viscous liquid washed down the sink. I watched as the final tears streamed down his face. I felt him lean against me for support, as if he collapsed otherwise. I wanted to be there to comfort him, but I also needed to know what I got myself into. Whose blood was this? Did he kill someone? Is he on the run? What's going on, Randy? He faced away from my gaze, scrubbed his now clean hands, and just muttered, I handled it. What does that mean? He responded in the same low voice. I handled it. Randy, what does that mean? He quickly met my gaze and then snapped. I fucking handled it! I recoiled back and thought about calling the cops. Noticing my sudden anxiousness, he lowered his voice. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Randy, you're scaring me. What did you do? It was Jeff, he finally mustered out. Jeff? Did he attack Troy or something? No. Then what happened? We saw him hanging out with Liu and we decided to pin him down. He looked away from me and lowered his voice even more. I handled it. I raised my voice, tired of him beating around the bush. What does that mean, Randy? I beat him up. He kept looking away. He was hiding something. Tell me what you did, Randy. He finally snapped. I carved up his fucking face, okay? I froze. What? Is that what you wanted to hear so badly? I pinned down Jeffrey Woods, beat him to a bloody pulp, and then carved his fucking face with Troy's knife. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That this was coming out of a man who had gave me the watch I was wearing. What the hell, Randy? I paced around the island. I mean, What the actual hell? I know, I'm fucking sorry, but that's what happened. You're sorry? You are sorry. You just carved a kid's face. Like, seriously, what the hell, Randy? This isn't just some kid. This is Jeffrey Woods. I don't give a fuck who it was. You carved up his face with a knife. I couldn't say anything else. It was just that one detail replaying over and over again in my mind. He put my brother in the ER, nearly killed Keith, and you're putting this on me? Honestly, I think he deserved it. Deserved it? No one deserves that. Holy shit, Randy. What if it was Nina? Don't even go there. What if it was Nina, who was beaten in front of you and put in the ER? What the fuck would you do? I'm not even gonna answer that, because you know you would do the same goddamn thing. I couldn't even look at him anymore. He disfigured someone and now he was trying to justify it? There's no justifying disfiguring a 17-year-old boy. There just wasn't. We just stood there for a second, like the world had gone mute. I held my head down and quietly spoke. Get out of my house. Randy, who was leaning against my sink, looked up, shocked. What? His voice cracked. I still avoided his gaze, scared that if I looked at him, I would avoid saying what I was about to say. I said, get out of my fucking house. I could tell he wanted to object, but deep down, he understood. He understood what he did was unforgivable. All he could do was pray for forgiveness. My dad came home not long after, and after seeing my face, asked what was wrong. I just hugged him, and I think that was the only answer he needed. I was frozen in place during the days that followed, stuck in the same monotonous routine: sleep, eat, try to read a book, get bored, and then sleep again. It was like time had stood still, and I was the only one stuck to deal with the consequences. One night, hoping the cold would shake me from my numbness, I stepped outside into the mid-November air. I looked up to the stars for something, some form of guidance or answer. Maybe my mom was looking down on me, urging me to make the right decision. The way I saw it, I had 3 options. Number 1, turn Randy into the cops. Since he was a haymitch, he'd probably be let off scot-free. However, my conscience would feel cleared. But then Randy would never talk to me again. Something I really didn't want. Number 2, cut Randy out of my life. No cops, but I still wouldn't see him again. And that leaves number 3. Forget any of it happened. Move on with my life. But could I really do that? Pretend it was just a bad dream? I continued looking at the sky till I finally found it. Orion. That warrior that looked down on me all those years ago. He was a fighter, unlike me. I mean, just look at me. Staring to the stars for guidance instead of actually doing something. How I froze up in front of Mr. Haymitch. How I did nothing while he beat his son. All I ever did was run. How could I face a warrior like this if I was nothing but a coward? Just then, something interrupted my thoughts. There was a fire at the Woods house, and a huge one at that. I immediately ran inside and grabbed my phone.
911, what's your emergency?
I attempted to calm down my heart rate. Dad said 911 was most useful when you were calm, and gave every detail. Hey, this is Jane Richardson. I live on 1427 Craven Road, and there's a huge house fire across the street from me on 1428 Craven Road.
Okay, sending units there now. I recommend that you maintain a safe distance. Help is on the way.
Fucking hell. There's someone coming out of the house. Liu?
There's someone there?
Yes, and he's hurt.
Like I said, help is on the way. Don't put yourself in any unneeded risk.
No response.
Hello? Jane?
I was already on my way across the street. It was Liu. He was covered in smoke and blood. I couldn't tell if he was alive. I moved him slightly, and that's when I noticed the source of the blood. He's been stabbed.
Jane? Who's been stabbed?
Liu, one of the people who live in this house.
Okay, where has he been stabbed?
I started to enter panic mode and couldn't respond.
Jane?
Yes, I'm sorry. He was stabbed on his right side. I don't know what the organ or whatever is called.
Okay, are you able to put pressure on it?
Our responses were on autopilot now. Yes. I applied pressure to the word. The U kept fading in and out of consciousness. I don't even think he realized I was there. My hands were soaked in blood as it kept pumping out of his body. It was too much blood. I held my hands there for what felt like hours, but it was actually a couple minutes. My dad finally came out of the house, noticing his daughter standing in front of a gurney and a house fire. I can barely remember what my dad did or said to me. All I can remember is that Liu lived. The days that followed the now coined Woods family massacre were different. BrookBend felt different. It was like everyone telepathically agreed to take a week of silence. There were no get-togethers, no kids playing outside, and no Thanksgiving invites. The only action scene were the cops searching for the now missing Jeffrey Woods. This wasn't just some fire. This was a kid everyone knew who killed his parents, caused a house fire, and tried to kill his little brother. A killer on the loose. Small towns don't just get over things like these. They stick to it. Like an infection that never stops spreading. The first people to break these days of mourning were, to no one's surprise, the Haymages. I guess Mr. Haymage wanted the love to keep thriving and hosted a community get-together at his house. After being crammed in their houses for days on end, people were glad to finally have an excuse to leave and party. When my dad drove to the get-together, there was no parking for miles. So much so that we decided to just drive home and we walked there instead. I never liked parties, and neither did my dad. We were both the type to stay inside and stress eat for fun. Parties were just always so crowded and sweaty. To be fair, this wasn't a party per se, it was a civilized get-together. Still didn't help the crowdedness, and I was too young to drink, so there goes half the fun. It was also so fake. I saw now what I couldn't see before. The sickness of BrookBend. This wasn't a tribute or mourning. This was PR. This was all a facade. People wanted to pretend nothing happened. And I just couldn't take it anymore. Wanting some fresh air, I stepped outside onto the balcony. There, stargazing, was none other than Randy Haymage. I stood next to him and he acknowledged my presence, yet we didn't speak to one another for a couple minutes. Finally, Randy broke the silence. I don't know how you do this. I leaned against the balcony railing, turning to face him. Do what? Just look at the stars and know all of it. I laughed. I don't know all of it, just a good portion. You just need to know where to look. What do you mean? I grabbed his hand and pointed it towards the sky. Do you see those 3 bright stars? Yes. That's Orion's belt. Why am I looking at his belt? I smiled. Well, now you just have to zoom out and boom. There's Orion. I looked at his face as he looked up, how the moonlight perfectly illuminated him to the point where he looked more like a watercolor painting than a person. I continued. Now that you see Orion, you can find some other ones. Right in his armpit right there, I pointed at the sky, is Beetlejuice. Like the movie? He smiled at me. I rolled my eyes. No, like the giant red superstar in the sky. I saw him get that look. The look he gave before saying something doofus-like. You're my superstar, he smirked. I was right. Shut up, dork, I laughed. He laughed back. How do you understand all of this? I don't. That's the beauty of stars. They're what you make of them. The silence returned for a couple minutes. But it wasn't awkward. No, it was welcoming. We just stared at each other, basking in the moonlight. Randy interrupted it again. I'm going to be working with my dad now. Turning 18 in a couple weeks, and my gift is the family dynasty, he joked. But he wasn't that far off. Sounds like fun. Becoming the new Mr. Haymage, I replied. He smiled weakly in response, so I changed the subject. You never finished your sentence back at the gas station. What sentence? What you were about to say to me before Keith cut you off. You know, on our first date. I went there. That was like forever ago. It was actually still this month. Really? Shit, time flies. Stop stalling, I responded sharply. He rolled his eyes, then smiled. I think it was something along the lines of, he took a long, hesitant sigh. I really want to. I closed the gap between us, kissing him tightly, as if he might fade away. Time slowed, and I wanted to live in this moment, right here with Randy, beneath the stars. But I couldn't. I broke away, bringing time back to its regular pace. I know, I uttered, smiling, but then my smile faltered. But I can't be with you. He returned a faint smile. I know. We just stood there, watching the stars till my dad told me it was time to leave. As I left the balcony, I took one last look at Randy. I wondered what he would become. Would he carry on his family's legacy? Will he choose to be the powerful or the lover? I think I knew deep down what he would be. I think I knew deep down that this was the last time I'd see my Randy. I just didn't know how true that would become. On December 1st, Randy and his brother were killed, stabbed in their home by Jeffrey Woods, the first to fall in the long series of murders that plagued BrookBend, shortly followed by Troy and his family on December 15th. I still remember Randy's funeral, seeing them lower the coffin into the dirt, seeing them lower in someone who meant so much to me. But I didn't cry during the funeral, no. I already mourned Randy long ago. He was dead long before Jeff's blade, and Mr. Hamish made sure of that. I watched Mr. Hamish during the funeral. He didn't cry either, but I knew it broke him. Not because his sons were dead, but because his legacy was murdered. On Christmas of that year, Mr. Hamish joined his sons. His head was found in a gift addressed to his wife. I went to his funeral also, wearing the same black dress I wore on that date with Randy. Not a single tear was shed on that day, not by anyone in that town. I think they all knew, deep down, what type of man they were burying. All that obsession with power, yet no one gave a shit when he died. People cared more when his wife died on January 30th. Not because she meant more to the town, but because she was the last member of the Hamishes. No one else was left to take the mill, and it would surely fall into ruin. Luckily for the town, however, a mysterious investor kept it running. Unluckily for the town, under new management, there were mass layoffs. One of these was my father. We were going to move out eventually anyway, my dad reassured me after returning from his last day at the mill. With that Jeffrey kid still on the loose, I don't want my daughter to be next on the chopping block. Where are we going to move to? I asked, eating the frozen burrito in front of me. I don't know. How about Brownsburg? He started moving empty boxes down the stairs. I dropped my fork. Whoa, what are you doing? Getting packed up? With the two of us, we should be able to be gone in about 2 days. We don't even have a house figured out yet. Plus, you need a job. Your uncles let me borrow an RV for as long as we need. Also, you know me. I've never had trouble finding work. No one can resist the Richardson charm, he smiled. Don't you think we're moving a bit too fast? I know you don't remember those times, but this is kinda how me and your mom operated for a while. Well, I'm not mom. Can we please take a breath for a second, Dad? He finally stopped moving. Do you want to stay, honey? It's no big deal if so. I can probably work over at BrookBend's Pizza. No, it's not that. Can I just have a week? I have friends I need to say goodbye to and stuff. He sighed and dropped the empty box he was holding. Yes, of course. I was moving a little fast, you're right. I just hate not having a job. Trust me, I know. But I think we'll survive a week without pay. The truth is, I didn't really need to say goodbye to my friends. The only person I really missed was Nina, and I could just drive to visit. I was legally an adult and would only be living with my dad a little longer. And I was terrified of Jeff with his sick laugh. The fact that he was still out there and the fact that I was definitely on his list constantly loomed over me. I think it's just that, despite how much I've gotten to hate the sickness of BrookBend, it's still hard to let go of. This is where I grew up. This is where the Hopkins were, my second family. This is where Randy was. those cherry bomb and Coca-Cola slushies. I couldn't just let it go, but I had to. My dad and I had decided to make moving day on February 15th. He found a job in BrookBend, Indiana, which would allow me to still be close to the Hopkins yet far from BrookBend. On Valentine's Day, I made one final visit to the Hopkins house. The second I walked through the door, Nina hugged my legs with all her might. "I got you a going away present," she said in a cute, childlike voice. "Really?" I responded. She frantically nodded her head and grabbed the handmade letter. On the cover was a stick figure with red crayon for the hair. "Is this supposed to be me? I've never looked so good," she giggled enthusiastically. I opened the card and it read, "I hope you enjoy Brownsburg. I love you, sissy." I instantly picked up Nina and hugged her tightly. "I love you so much, girl. The things I would do for you." I began blowing raspberries in her neck. Casey walked in on us. "You girls are so adorable." I plopped Nina on the couch and went up to hug Casey. She wrapped her arms around me. "I'm gonna miss you, Jane." "I'm gonna miss you more," I responded, hugging her tightly. "Marie is sorry she couldn't be here, but wanted me to tell you that she loves you." "Will you tell Marie that I'm holding this over her head till the day she dies?" Casey laughed. "I'll pass it on." I got home around 7 p.m. to the smell of tomato sauce and pasta filling the house. My dad was cooking dinner. "Sit down," he exclaimed, holding a tray with his red oven mitts. "Yes, sir," I said, returning his energy. He revealed what was inside the tray. "I think I finally got it this time." He used a spatula to pull the slice on my plate, then another on his. I waited for him to get situated, then took a bite. I nearly cried. It was Mom's lasagna. I savored every bite, as if I was an inmate on death row, and I guess, in a way, I was. This was the end of my time in BrookBend. The end of a piece of my life. BrookBend may have brought me so much pain, but it also brought me so much hope. For every Jeff, there's a little Nina, trying to make the world a better place, one giggle at a time. And for every Mr. Haymitch, there's my dad, failing to eat his lasagna with a fork and having to use his hand for balance. Tomorrow, it'd be over. Tomorrow would be another chapter in my life. I woke up in the dead of night to a loud crash in my kitchen. I figured that it was probably my dad struggling to pack some stuff up and try to go back to sleep. That's when I noticed a chill in my room. My window was open. I wonder if I left it open. I never usually left it open, for I hated the cold. I was now wide awake, fighting to stay aware of my surroundings. Not wanting to stay in my room, I rolled out of bed and made my way to meet my dad in the kitchen. Right when I reached the door, however, I felt a sharp pain strike my head. Then, everything went black. I woke up again, but this time in my kitchen. I felt a sharp pain in my head and a warm liquid stuck in my hair. Was that blood? I tried to move but realized that my hands and feet were wrapped in a thin rope tied to a dining room chair. I tried to scream but felt the duct tape that trapped my mouth and wrapped around my head. Finally, my vision began to focus, and I saw my dad across from me, tied to a chair yet missing the duct tape. He was still out cold. Along the table were lit candles that we had packed up the day prior. As this reality set in, I felt my heart rate beat faster and faster. I felt this wave of claustrophobia go throughout my body, and I had to move. I fought against my restraints with all my might, to no avail. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I just had to watch my dad slowly wake up, blood dripping from his forehead. Then I heard a voice. Not the same voice I would hear in the school hallways, but the voice I heard on that quiet day at the Woods house. Finally! I thought he'd never wake up. Jeff emerged from the shadows my living room provided. Had he been there the whole time, waiting for the show to start? I attempted to scream, "You motherfucker!" through the tape, but all that came out was muffled cries. Jeff laughed and walked towards me, rubbing his black butterfly knife along where my lips were. "It'll all be over soon, darling." My dad screamed from across the table. "Get the fuck away from her, you psycho!" Jeff scowled and turned to face my dad, walking towards him. Bruce. Why don't you just shut up and wait your goddamn turn?" He plunged his knife into my dad's hand. My dad cried out in pain as tears rolled down my face. Jeff just smiled, his sick, permanent smile. I could finally see Randy's disfigurement, illuminated by the candle light. Sorry. That was not very respectful of me, Jeff recovered. You see, Mr. Richardson, your daughter and I, we have history. We were friends. Some might even say, he turned to face me with his unblinking bloodshot eyes, more. But that all came to an end when she fucked the guy who did this to my face. I fought against my restraints again, attempting to scream. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not mad about my face. I think it's quite beautiful, don't you? My dad screamed out, You sick fuck! Jeff stabbed him in the leg, and my dad screamed in pain once more. The next time you interrupt me, I will cut off your finger. He removed the blade and continued. Now, as I was saying, I'm not mad about my face, but it's the principle of the matter. He walked over to me. Don't you agree, Jane? He cut the duct tape grazing my cheek as he did. Even with the tape gone, I still felt like I couldn't speak. I've always loved your hair, Jane. He grabbed a handful of my hair. It's just so red and soft, and he took a long whiff of it. Smells so good. Tears continued to roll down my face. My dad couldn't help it and screamed again, Get the fuck away from her! I saw tears form in his eyes. Even after my mom's death, I think this was the first time I had ever seen him cry. I'll be with you in a moment, Bruce. Jeff cupped my face as my dad continued screaming. I tried to fight against him, but I couldn't. And your freckled face. Just so perfect. So beautiful. He squeezed my dimples and forcibly planted a kiss on my lips with his disgusting, dried up mouth. I wanted to vomit, but felt like any action would put my dad in danger. That didn't matter though, as Jeff made his way to my dad. Now, which finger will it be, Bruce? Fuck you, my dad replied. That's not a finger. Jeff looked at my dad's left hand and noticed his wedding ring. How romantic. You still keep it on. He plunged a butterfly knife into my dad's ring finger. My dad recoiled from pain, but his finger was still intact. The knife wasn't good enough. Jeff kept sawing away at the finger to no avail as my dad continued to cry out. I finally found my strength and yelled, Leave him alone! Jeff looked back at me, then at the box labeled Kitchen. His grin widened. He immediately cut open the box, dug through it, and pulled out one of our kitchen knives. Much better, he exclaimed. He repositioned my dad's hand and swung down on his ring finger 3 times until it was cut off. My dad screamed. That gut-wrenching, horrible scream. Jeff slid the finger in his pocket. Maybe that'll teach you to let people finish. I'll fucking kill you, my dad let out. Jeff just laughed and picked up his knife again. And now, a lesson for Jane. He plunged the knife into my dad's neck, stabbing it over and over again. His blood sprang everywhere. I screamed through my cracked voice. Dad! He was dead. My dad was dead. No, he couldn't be. But he was. My dad was dead, and there was nothing I could do about it. I just screamed and began to hyperventilate. Jeff laughed, that horrible, disgusting laugh. If I ever got sent to hell, it would be that same laugh that filled its halls. He walked back over to me. Oh, that's a shame. Poor Papa Richardson. His own daughter was the reason for his death. He got so close to my face that I could feel his breath. Are you ready to join him? I spat in Jeff's face. He just laughed. Haven't you gotten feisty? He grabbed my face again and began cutting into my cheek. I couldn't fight against him. I had nothing left in me. My dad was dead, and I joined him soon. As Jeff cut that heart into my cheek, I felt nothing. I was completely numb, a husk. He finally finished, smiling as he did. There you are. A little reminder of what we had. I used the last bit of my strength to scream.
burn in hell.
But what came out was more of a whimper. Jeff's grin cracked at its ends. You first. He knocked over the candles and ignited the wooden floors. Jeff laughed as he ran off with his butterfly knife. Hope to see you around, Jane. Fire quickly spread throughout my house, and I was stuck in a chair, watching my dad continue to bleed out. As the fire neared, a part of me wanted it to take me. However, my human need to survive took over. I fought against my restraints. Nothing. I tried to untie them. Nothing. Smoke filled my lungs, and I was about to give up. Then I saw the knife. The kitchen knife Jeff used to cut off my dad's finger. It was on the edge of the table. I used all my force to move the chair, enough to be able to hit the table. First hit, nothing. Second hit, nothing. Third hit, nothing. I could hardly breathe. Fire heated up my body. Fourth hit, it fell. I rocked the chair back and forth till it fell as well, cracking my Orion watch the second I hit the ground. I had to get that knife. I had to make it. I used my legs to push off the table leg and move my chair towards the knife. My pajamas had caught on fire, but I couldn't feel the burn anymore. I just had to get out of this chair. I looked up and saw my dad, slumped in his chair. I couldn't let this bastard win. I couldn't let him kill me like my dad. I finally reached the knife and cut through the thin rope on my right hand. Then I cut off the rope at my legs, patting down the flame as I did. Finally, I cut off the rope on my left hand. I was free. I got off the floor and looked around my house, encompassed in flames. I should have called the fire department. I should have gotten my dad's body out of that house. I should have waited outside, or maybe even chased Jeff. But I couldn't. I was back to being beside my mom in the hospital, unable to even say I love you. I was back to being at the McDonald's after Randy's dad hit him. I was back to being behind the Hamish's door, listening to Randy's torment. I couldn't do anything, so I just ran. I ran through the flames and towards my front door. The second I opened the door, the fire grew hungrier and encompassed the rest of my house. It was now visible from the outside, but I didn't care. I just ran. I ran past the Hopkins' house, a place that had become my second home, past the school where Randy had asked me to the dance, the place where Jeff and I first met, past the speedway where I first fell in love with Randy, a moment that felt like a lifetime ago. I ran past the "Welcome to BrookBend" sign. I escaped BrookBend. I escaped the sickness, but not before it infected me.